Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So today we are talking Tyler Perry. So today we are doing a full review of his new Amazon Prime Video movie, Divorce in the Black, you guys, featuring Megan Good and Corey Hardwick, and we got to talk about it. So you'll know my previous video, we talked about the first 8 minutes of the movie in regards to the chaotic funeral scene, which I am still not over. I have never seen or heard of any type of display like that before in my life. And I'm never going to hear or see any type of display like that again. Because only Tyler Perry would think of something like that, right? So I felt the movie was kind of like a lot of Tyler Perry's other movies, right? An abusive husband, you try to get away, and then you end up with the the blue collar light skinned guy or whatever, right? It's the same old situation, right? And so in this movie, though, it seemed as though Dallas, which was Ava's husband, which was played by Megan Good, seemed like he didn't have much to offer. And I wish we kind of had a backstory on Dallas's family, because it was like they kind of were just thrown at us, but we fully didn't know like what all the family dynamics were. We got some flashbacks where the mom is like dragging Ava at their wedding and saying she's not good enough and throwing the bouquet at her. And at that point, I wouldn't have married nobody at that, right? And then we get a little bit of information about Benji, because apparently Benji has always been in the mix. However, it seems as though Ava loved Dallas more, so they somehow had a moment or something when I guess her and Dallas broke up. I presume at high school or after high school or something, and then she got back together with Dallas and married them, right? And so they've been married all these years. They're having these problems. Clearly, the husband's not happy. And for some reason, when he filed for divorce, Ava was upset. Ava was crying, you guys. She was like very distraught that Dallas wanted to end things, and I was confused. Right? So we have a best friend as well, and her husband, who was best friends with Dallas, who has been around for all of these shenanigans of all of the ups and downs throughout this marriage. And essentially the husband's turning into a stalker, right? Anytime he sees, Ava talking to Benji, he's accusing her of having an affair. He's accusing her of her and Benji sleeping together. He often goes to hang out with his brothers at like the trailer park and his mom and all these things. And they're just up to no good, you guys. They're up to no good, but just trying to start trouble, right? So when ultimately all this fighting, all this disrespect happened, for instance, Dallas got mad at Ava for taking too long to get ready to go out on a double date with her best friend and husband. He just decides to up and go himself, even though she told them the exact time she would be ready. I think she even finished earlier. And he just left on his own, causing ruckus at a nice restaurant. And then, Ava finally gets there, but it's tense, it's tension. And Ava's best friend, she doesn't care anymore. She's calling out the BS because she's sick of the disrespect. And nonetheless, it just goes left as it always does, right? But it's just another example of the various times where Dallas likes to cause a commotion and it's just a hot mess. And apparently, Ava and her best friend, they both work at this bank. However, once it's announced that her husband, Dallas, wants to divorce her, pretty much she goes ghost. She goes to live with her parents, who I believe lives like an hour or so away or something like that. So nonetheless, she has this beautiful home, where she was trying to make something happen with Dallas. Dallas is saying that she can keep the home. He doesn't want anything from her, and all of these things, right? So she goes to basically stay with her parents for a week, and her parents, Debbie Morgan is always going to act her behind off, but Richard Lawson, there was just portions throughout the movie I couldn't take him seriously, because I just wasn't sure what was going on, especially his role as a preacher. But nonetheless, they pretty much tried to, during Ava's time there, show her how she used to be, how happy she used to be as a child, how happy she was even in high school, participating in track, going to homecoming, and having friends and all these things. And so then once Ava got home, she started running again like she used to, because she said like running was like one of the things she loved to do, and plus she was in track, right? And so nonetheless, that was something that she would do to clear her mind. But then she also was having flashbacks, like to when her and Dallas, consummated their marriage, when her and Dallas, did all this stuff, when they had some brief happy moments. But for the most part, it also was memories of just chaos, of just always there being conflict and issues with Dallas's family. And so before Ava went to her parents' house for the week, her best friend gave her this like 20-page letter. No, I'm kidding. But it was several pages of all of the instances of all these years, because you're talking, 20 years or so? 20 years of just disrespect, mistreatment, ABUSE, verbal outbursts, stalking, you name it. Like all of this crazy behavior by Dallas that was just inappropriate and negative against Ava, right? And so her mom, Ava's mom, ended up finding this letter and was like heartbroken and was crying her eyes out because she couldn't believe it, because she didn't know, right? Like her parents can sense obviously when she's not happy and something's wrong, but she didn't know all the details. And so she was like, we need to keep this between us, right? And so then the dad comes back and he's like, hey, we should go, out to get some supplies or whatever. And then there's Benji again. Like Ava, she keeps running into Benji because her parents are trying to play matchmaker, even though things are a mess right now in Ava's personal life, you guys. And so, nonetheless, she puts two and two together that he obviously was called to be there at this place at a certain particular time in order to see Ava. And then from there as well, we kind of got a little bit more that it kind of sounded like Ava and Benji liked each other, and just timing wasn't right for them to ever be together. We find out that he also has been divorced as well and has a daughter. Ava's character didn't have any kids and all the things. Ava called her friend, let her know that she was going to be off work for the week or take some leave to deal with, this divorce drama and all the things. And then from there was this night, one of the nights where there was like a fair in the town, because they had come from a small town. And essentially, Ava went with her parents, but she ended up running into Benji and his daughter, who I guess they were supposed to do a drop-off with his daughter's mom. So then Benji leaves with Ava, and they sit out in this truck for most of the night. And Ava is like begging him to sleep with her, and he's telling her no. He's like, you're not in the right frame of mind. This would just be to get back at your husband, and you need to be divorced. You need to be all about me, right? So they're drinking whiskey. He keeps referencing how he's a big country fan and Chris Stapleton fan and all these things, and even a Chris Stapleton song was playing in the movie, and I was confused. But nonetheless, at some point, Ava felt well enough to go back to the house, to go back to her home, and go back to work, right? And then from there, her husband is back stalking her, right? Because then one of the brothers is apparently a private investigator on the low, you guys, and is sending photos of, Benji and Ava at the fair, of Benji and Ava at various places, right? And so he concludes from the pictures that they're having an affair, even though there's nothing intimate about the photos other than the two of them physically just being in the same place talking, right? There's nothing inappropriate going on, right? And so he gets so, heated, he's drinking and all these things. He gets so heated that he storms off to the bank where Ava returns to work and causes a scene and tells Ava he wants his divorce now. He wants this to be over, accuses her of cheating, and is just acting buck wild. The best friend has to kick him out and tell him, no, like, stop your shenanigans. And so then from there, since Ava's best friend's husband's an attorney, they looked over, apparently, Ava did with her best friend what the terms of the divorce was, because for some reason the best friend was like, well, if I was you, I would be taking everything. And Ava's like, but what does he have? I just want to be in the black when this is all over, right? What does he have that I need? I don't want anything from him. I'm the superstar. I'm the one that's got, you know, the breadwinner, right? And so, nonetheless, they meet up with the attorney, and, you know, Megan Good, she's refusing counsel, she's refusing assistance, claiming that she read, like, all the terms of what this divorce was supposed to be, and just wants to get it all over with, you guys. And so she quickly signs everything, and then just gets out of there. Dallas, he's in his feelings. He's like, see how quickly she wanted to divorce me? She's the one, you know, she wants to hurry up and be with, you know, that guy, that dude. She was cheating on me the whole time and all this stuff, and you guys knew about it, and they're trying to calm him down, like, no. And they're like, remember, you asked for the divorce. Remember, you wanted this, right? So nonetheless, you know, Benji and Ava, they start seeing each other. They start, you know, getting to know one another and all of these things, you know, talking, spending time. And then there was an evening where one thing leads to another at Ava's house, right? And they finally, you know, give in to their passions and their temptations, if you will, and, you know, consummate their relationship, right? And so the next day, Dallas is sitting in the kitchen eating cereal, you guys. Even though they're divorced, even though he said that Ava could have the house, he wants no parts, he doesn't want to do anything. Ava comes down, she's happy, she's blowed up, she's booed up, and he is sitting there, and she's like shook, because she's like, what is going on? What is happening, right? And so from there, you know, she's trying to get him to leave. And then all of a sudden, Dallas is trying to act like he's reminiscent of the house, and Ava's trying to figure out how he got in, if she changed all the locks and all the things, and he's not saying anything. And so then he's like bum rushing and moving her out the way to go upstairs for whatever reason. And then, of course, Benji is there still in the bed. So then him and Benji get into it and start fighting. And Benji had said earlier that he started lifting weights because he got beat to a pulp before by Dallas and his brothers when he had that one moment with Ava. They beat him to a pulp so bad that nonetheless he had just moved on, but now he's got some muscles and was able to fight back. And it got to the point where they fought back so much that he knocked, you know, Dallas unconscious, and it was him and Ava moving him, dragging him down the steps, dragging him throughout the house. Ava's pissed off, she's cussing him out and all these things, and you know, basically they move him all the way to the pickup truck that he was driving to sit there, and they like slap his face and they're like, listen, don't come back here ever again, and all these things, right? So Dallas doesn't come back there again, except where he's sitting parked up at the bank where Ava works, you guys. Again, just more stalking behavior, right? And so nonetheless, that happens. Also, they let Ava know that he's outside. So Ava's best friend's husband comes to try to talk some sense into Dallas to leave. So he ends up leaving, you guys. But apparently, in between, he had time to stop by Benji's farm, you guys. Benji's farm full of animals. And guess what, you guys? He killed all of them. He poisoned all of them because he was jealous that Ava moved on to him, you guys. And furthermore, Ava's best friend threw Ava a divorce party, also where Benji was at, also where Tyler Perry never misses an opportunity to bring in shirtless men. I was like, it was so random. It was like an FU, I'm divorce cake with like a heart that was broken. And it was being presented by, I think, like 4 or 5 men, you guys, that were dressed like the Chippendales, or dressed like the male strippers, and I was so confused. I was like, is this the King's Men, or what? But Tyler Perry, he never fails to insert things like this into his production, so I was not surprised. But that was just another example of Dallas, again, trying to just show up unannounced. And again, the best friend sees, she grabs her husband. He has to come out and talk him down, and figures out that his ex-wife is in there for the divorce party. And he's like, you party without me? He was like, I could be in there, I need some girls, and blah 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 blah, I'm single now. And so he keeps like telling Dallas, like, listen, you need to go home, you need to get out of here, right? So that happens, right? And then what was a big thing that was agitating me this movie was the police, or lack thereof, right? So they had these policemen, and anytime there was an issue, anytime there was a break-in, anytime there was a law that was broken, they call the police, they call the sheriff, and he's all like, well, we need more proof. We need more proof than for us to do anything. And it's like, well, the animals didn't kill themselves. People weren't beaten up by themselves, right? So nonetheless, Ava's friend convinces, her to get a restraining order against Dallas, because it's clear as day he does not want to leave her alone in any capacity, even though he's the one that wanted the divorce. He didn't want to change. He didn't want to do better or anything. He's the one who asked for all this, right? So again, now it's Ava going out on the double dates with Benji and her best friend and husband. And on one of the evenings, they're having something, I believe it's at the husband's house, and they're like out on like the patio or somewhere. And nonetheless, Dallas shows up unannounced again. Shows up unannounced again, you guys, and is starting trouble. And they're threatening to call the police. I think the friend did call the police, because she was like, you're in violation of the restraining order. And he's like, well, I won't be long. And so then he's mad at the husband, because he feels like the husband, quote unquote, took Ada's side in the divorce, the Ava side in the divorce, and not him. And that's supposed to be his best friend. So then he blurts out there, well, what about Kelly? Did your wife know about Kelly and how that's been going on and all that for years? And he thought like he dropped a bomb or whatever. Only for the friend to say that she knew about Kelly, but we didn't know what extent or what capacity. But she was like, I know, my husband told me about it, right? And so then finally Dallas leaves after some more words are exchanged, and he's trying to like act all buck and do all this stuff, right? So nonetheless, then the best friend, she's pissed at her husband, because she's like, what is he talking about? What do you mean years and years? I thought this was like a one-time thing that happened. And he's like, it is a one-time thing that happened, and I told you immediately after it happened. I had regret and all of the things, right? And so nonetheless, he's sleeping on the couch. He's not in a good situation or whatever. Also, it gets to a point where Ava's dad, he goes to Ava's house to like also change the locks again and put in security cameras, and then also place guns throughout the house for self-defense purposes, because he doesn't trust that Dallas isn't going to try to come back again. And then meanwhile that's happening, Dallas is showing up, all bruised up at the market. And this was another scene that pissed me off. He finds Ava's mom and starts harassing her. She's like pushing a shopping cart, doing grocery shopping. And he's like, I see you're still here at the same time every week as always. Stops her cart. You can see the workers seeing that the situation is escalating. Nobody's calling security. Nobody's calling the police. They're all just staring at Dallas being irate and completely being inappropriate to Ava's mom and trying to attack her. And it was so disgusting. I was so disturbed in that scene. I was like, you guys are really all just gonna look around? Like, even the patrons, you guys are all just gonna look around at this ABUSE and sit there and do absolutely nothing? That's what's happening? That's what's hot in the streets? So I hated that scene. I hated everything about it, right? So then, Ava, she's hanging out with Benji, and then her mom calls her to let her know, like, what's taking place, that Dallas is out of his mind, and all of these things. And so then from there, after the husband is, he's found everything out, he's like put everything together at Ava's house. Since the town is small, he gets back and he finds out about Dallas. He finds out about Dallas attacking his wife, since his wife didn't tell him. And so nonetheless, he grabs his shotgun, you guys, when he gets back home, and he goes out to Dallas's house and his family. So nonetheless, they want Ava to hurry up and go out to where, Dallas and his brothers live, because they don't feel it's going to be safe for, the father, right? So nonetheless, Ava and Benji, they are already, en route and said they won't be there that long, and turned around or whatever and headed out to Dallas's trailer park, right, where him and his brothers and his mom are. And so then Ava's dad gets there, threatens to shoot Dallas. That ends up shooting him, I think, in the leg or somewhere. And, then the brothers, they all are surrounding him, and they all have bats, and they are beating him to a pulp. And I'm like, you guys are doing this to a pastor? And then all of a sudden, when the mom feels like it, she's like, okay, you guys can stop, and tells them to get away. And then Dallas is all like, well, that's what you get. And it's like, really, dude? Really? And so nonetheless, eventually Ava and Benji get there. They see, Ava sees her dad, beat to a pulp. She's pissed off. They call the ambulance and all the things. And so now he is at the hospital. But Ava is pissed off because she's a daddy's girl. And she is pissed that her ex-husband, is still stalking her. Is still trying to, basically attack her entire family, attack her new boyfriend, and just attack everything, right? And just mess everything up for her and continue to be disruptive and destructive regardless of a restraining order, right? So she's up here, she remembers that her dad, put together, redid the locks again, put in the security cameras. She remembers all of that. And then she decides, you know what? I'm going to go back to my house by myself. Even though I know my ex-husband is an ABUSER, even though I know my ex-husband is a stalker, even though I know my ex-husband is unhinged, you guys. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, are you serious right now? You're really going to put yourself at the scene of the crime and put your life at risk? Is this what we're doing? Right? Like, I was pissed because I was like, this is completely unnecessary. And if you're going to do something like this, could you have at least brought your boyfriend Benji? Who could fight, who could defend him? Like it was crazy. So nonetheless, Ava had the bright idea on the way to her house to call Dallas and brag about how much better in bed Benji was, how much better sex with Benji was, and all of the things to piss off Dallas, and then lied and said that she was with Benji all along, and that Dallas could never satisfy her, right? And tells her that she's at the house, right? Knowing that he's going to come there and basically, attack her. And basically, physically attack her. And not, so it was that, right? So he shows up, again, doesn't knock or anything, just kind of just comes in, however, even though the locks are changed the second time. Shows up, and the way he comes in, I believe in this one, he comes down the steps. So I don't know if he came through the window or what happened, right? And so again, they're going back and forth. And then Dallas has enough, basically admits that his mom made him kill his father because his father basically, was ABUSing his mother, and he was sick of it, and his mother gave him the confidence to kill his dad, right? So nonetheless, he feels basically that he has also morphed into his dad, and he's also, of course, lost his oldest brother. So nonetheless, and his other brothers, they've turned to a life of crime. He's the only one that graduated per, the first 7.5 minutes in the movie. So then he starts smacking Ava around, you guys. And it was awful. And she kept talking mess to him. She kept getting up and talking mess to him. And then he kept smacking her down to the ground. Kept hitting her to the ground. And I was just so confused. Benji, he's trying to call and look for Ava. He can't get a hold of her. He calls Ava's best friend. She doesn't know what's going on or whatever, because he's trying to tell her that she just abruptly left the hospital. And so he's trying to hurry up and find Ava and all of the things. Look at, he thought at first that she was at her parents' house because he took her mom's car from the hospital. And so then from there, they decided to, both him and the friend and the husband, they decided, she's probably at her house, right? Her house that's an hour away or however long it is, right? So they all head en route there, right? And then it gets to a point where, at some point, Ava, gets to a point after all this smacking around that's taking place. She finds where one of the guns her father had hid in the house and points the gun at Dallas that if he steps again, she's going to shoot him, right? And also had called the police as well to let them know that her ex-husband was in violation of her restraining order and was beating her up. So she shoots Dallas because Dallas didn't, believe her bluff and thought she was full of it because he had been smacking her around the last 20 minutes. And so she shoots him, although it's not really clear where she shot him at. But she shoots him, he's on the ground, and then from there we get the ambulance, we get the police, we get Benji, and all the things showing up from there, right? And so then the final scene is back at the hospital where, Ava's dad is finally coming home. And as they're leaving, we see Dallas's family across the hall at the hospital. They're talking mess to Ava, and Ava's like, listen, this is over this time, or next time this will be really over for good. So I felt like I thought Dallas wasn't dead nonetheless, but I just didn't understand the way they were trying to make it seem, but it didn't make sense if he was gone, why they would be waiting out there. So obviously they didn't really explain that part too well, like what Dallas's condition was. But nonetheless, that was the movie, you guys. That was how it ended. And, like I said, this is a typical Tyler Perry movie, right? So if you know going in what you're going to get yourself into as it pertains to Tyler Perry, if you're just going to support, black creators and black actors and all the things, if that's your MO, then do it, right? But just know the first 8 minutes is nothing but tomfoolery and completely outrageous. And then the rest of the movie is kind of what happens in all the Tyler Perry movies, right? Because he refuses to hire writers and other people to make these movies really be excellent, really have a decent storyline. He thinks that his storylines make sense, and they don't, because there's always these long pauses in between the scenes and just weird stuff that goes on. And I'm like, this isn't it. I'm like, we could have handled this different. It's so outrageous, and it's like the same formula for almost all of his movies. So there was that. I mean, it's decent enough. It wasn't terrible. It had, one of the few times Tyler Perry has like a good ending to where everybody's happy and there's not some like other scandal taking place or other something unfortunate taking place or something that just is left ambiguous. This actually had an ending of sorts, right? We presume that Ava and Benji are going to live happily ever after, right? We presume that obviously since things are, her father's healed from the hospital, that he's going to go back to preaching and all the things, right? So that was that, right? So yeah, did any of you guys see this movie? I watched some of the interviews promoting this movie, and including the Club Shay Shay interview Megan Good did. So nonetheless, I felt some of the interviews might have been a tad bit better than the movie, but nonetheless, if you know what you're getting yourself into in a Tyler Perry production, you can tune in. If you are going to support it just because it's Tyler Perry, you can tune in and all of the things, but just know what you're getting yourself into. Know that the plot is no different from the bulk of his other productions, and he is the one responsible for all of the tomfoolery that's taking place because, like I said, he wants to own it all. He wants to be the owner of the writing, of the production, of the directing. He does not want anybody else to have that credit or that type of opportunity. So therefore, that's why we get these chaotic scenes, you guys. We get these chaotic scenes, these chaotic storylines, and all the things. So there is that. Please let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.